Hi everyone, my name is Tony Xavier, Chief Learning Officer of IMS and the author of the book Build the Cat, your friend, philosopher and guide for cat prep. In this series of DILR videos, we'll be looking at a topic called mathematical reasoning and different kinds of concepts that are tested in mathematical reasoning. One of the reasons why DILR has become a very, very tough section for a vast majority of students is that while earlier they were used to having very, very standard sets which were more or less like pure logical reasoning, now in the last say 5 to 7 years, every single set or most of the sets have some kind of math involved in them, right? And unless you become comfortable with math, unless your math concepts are not great, you might not be even able to touch any of these sets. But the converse is also true. If you actually know these concepts, if you're comfortable with math, and these are not too many, just a few, right? If you know them, then these sets become very, very easy. That's why when some students say, how is this person getting such, scoring so highly in DILR? I couldn't do anything. That is because what you didn't even attempt are things which are very, very easy for them that will take a very short span of time, right? So there are 5 videos in this particular series. So arithmetic, numbers, statistics, and 2 on Venn diagrams, right? So these will broadly cover the mathematical reasoning concepts that are tested. So let's start with the first one, arithmetic. All of these goes without saying are actual cat sets only. And the concept that is covered here is percentages. Now this is a set on committees. What does it say? 24 people are part of 3 committees which look at research, teaching and administration. So you know that the 3 committees, research, teaching, administration. No 2 committees have any member in common. No 2 committees are of the same size. So there is no overlap. This is not a Venn diagram situation. This is 3 committees, research, teaching and what else? Administration. And the totals of each, all the 3 columns are different, right? Each committee has 3 types of people: bureaucrats, educationalists, and politicians, with at least one from each of these 3 types in each committee. So you have bureaucrats, educationalists, politicians. One person from every type is there everywhere, right? So now already, while I said that a table might not be the first thing, but here you're seeing that is a clear table situation emerging with research, teaching, administration, bureaucrats, educationalists, and politicians. This is the grid. Okay. Now, what else do you know? The number of bureaucrats in the research and teaching committees are equal, while the number of bureaucrats in the research committee is 75% of the bureaucrats in the administration committee. So they're only talking about bureaucrats, and you have research, you have teaching, and you have administration. They're saying bureaucrats in research and teaching are equal, and then giving a relationship between research and administration. So straight away you know that about bureaucrats you have an equation. This is X, and administration they're telling you in terms of research. So you clearly know that, and in a single variable you have all of this. Next, the number of educationalists in the teaching committee is less than the number of educationalists in the research committee, right? Okay, so you have educationalists, research, teachers, administration. Research is greater than teachers, okay? And the number of education in the research committee, again, the first one is the average of the other 2, right? So research is the average of the other 2. That means what? R among the educationalists, R is equal to T plus A by 2, right? R is equal to T plus A by 2, right? That means R is to T plus A is equal to 1 is to 2. Research is 1 part, T plus A is 2 parts, right? So research is to teaching and administration both together is in the ratio 1 is to 2, right? Now if the ratio of these 2 groups is 1 is to 2 and it involves people only, that means the total has to be what? 1 is to 2 means total is 3. Total is either 3 or a multiple of 3. That much you know. Total number of educationalists is either a 3 or a multiple of 3. This is what we talk about in the 10 commandments, the first 2 videos that I said, where you have to interpret the conditions and not directly move on to the rest. Last one, 60% of the politicians are in administration. Now they're giving you politicians. 60% of politicians, administration, 20% teaching. 16 administration, 20 in teaching means the remaining 20 are where? In research. So you already can see the table very, very clearly. And now if we go ahead and do that, what do they say in bureaucrats? Number of people in research is equal to teaching, and number of people in research is 75% of people in administration. Now R is equal to 3 by 4 of A, right? R is equal to 3 by 4 of A. That means A is equal to 4 by 3 of R. So if R is X, that means A is equal to 4X by 3. This is 75% of this. That means 3/4 of this. That means this is going to be 4/3 of that, right? So now this is X, X and 4/3 of X. So what's the total? 10X by 3. Total is 10X by 3. Number of bureaucrats, the total has to be an integer. It cannot be a fraction or a decimal because it's number of people. That means X in 10X plus 3 has to be a multiple of 3, right? So multiple of 3, the first multiple is what? 3. So if X is equal to 3, then total number of bureaucrats will be equal to 10. If X is equal to the next multiple of 3, 6, right? Then the total number of bureaucrats will be equal to 20. Now, if bureaucrats are only equal to 20 and total number of people is 24 and there is at least one person of each category in each committee, that means that 24 number will not be sufficient. You need more than 24. So X cannot be 6. X has to be a multiple of 3. It has to be equal to 3, right? 10X plus 3 has to be an integer because it's about the number of people, right? So it's either 3 or 6 or 9. It cannot be greater than 3. So this becomes 10. Now if this is 10, this is 3 and 4. You already have taken that X is equal to 3, right? Now the next thing they're saying is politicians is how much? Among politicians, administration is 60%. That is 0.6x, you can write or y, or you can write 0.60y, or you can write 3 by 5, right? Fractions make it easier instead of writing equations in this case because you're always trying out numbers. So one of the mathematical reasoning things is that you are trying out different numbers for totals. You're always plugging numbers and saying, so fractions makes it easier, right? So 60% is nothing but 3y by 5. Teaching they're saying is 20%, that is nothing but y by 5, and research is another, whatever is the remaining 20%, that's another y by 5, right? Now, again, because it's a number of people, y has to be a multiple of 5, right? So y has to be a multiple of 5, so it's either 5 or 10, right? What happens if it is 10? If y is 10, the total number of people are 10, that is fine, right? But what will happen to the education list? If bureaucrats are 10 and politicians are 10, then the educationalists remaining will be 4. But we discussed something before. Total number of educationalists has to be a multiple of 3. Because it has to be a multiple of 3, 4 is not possible. So hence politicians cannot be 10, politicians has to be 5. If politicians is 5, then what is left for educationalists? 9. Is 9 a multiple of 3? Yes. Now everything is over. You only have that one thing left, one condition left of research in educationalist research committee being more than the teaching committee, and teaching research committee is equal to average of the other two. So you know that you have to go solve that equation. So we go there, r is equal to t plus a by 2. We've done this. R is to t by a is equal to, t plus a is equal to 1 is to 2. And you know that r plus t plus a total is equal to 9. R plus t plus a total is equal to 9. And r is to t plus a is equal to 1 is to 2 means r is equal to 3 and t plus a is equal to 6. R equal to 3, t plus a is equal to 6. And what do you know? R is greater than t. If r is greater than t and r is equal to 3, that means t can be only equal to how much? T is either equal to 1 or equal to 2. It has no other option. So if t is equal to 1, a is equal to 5. If t is equal to 2, a is equal to 4, right? So now you have this whole this thing in place. So you can go to the questions and quickly knock off the questions. So r is equal to 3, t is either 1 or 2, and a is either 5 or 4. Which of the following statements must be false? 4 statements, 3 can be true, 1 is definitely false. So you will be eliminating 3 and you'll be left with 1. First statement, In the administration committee, the number of bureaucrats is equal to number of educationalists. Administration committee, how many bureaucrats? 4. Administration committee, how many educationalists? 5 or 4. If it is 4, they will be equal. If it is 5, they will not be equal. So is it definitely false? No, this one can be true. So hence this is not your answer. Next one. The size of the research committee is less than the size of the administration committee. Size of the research committee is less than size of administration committee. Research's total is how much? 7. Administration total is how much? 11 or 12. That means research is definitely less. That means this is definitely true. And they're asking which is definitely false. So this is also not your answer. Third one, in the teaching committee, number of educationalists is equal to number of politicians. Look at the teaching committee. Educationalists can be 1 or 2, politicians is 1. If educationalists 1, then they're equal. If educationalists 2, then they're not equal. So is this definitely false? No, it can be true. That means even this is not your answer. If this is not your answer, the last one has to be your answer. You don't even need to check. That's the beauty of logical reasoning. You can blindly, mark the answer. You don't need to go for it. I'm also not going to explain it. You can pause and check. You will find that it is true. Because if you've eliminated 3 correctly, the last one has to be the answer. Yeah. Next question. What is the number of bureaucrats in administration committee? Bureaucrats in the administration, we can clearly see from the table, that is 4. What is the number of educationalists in the research committee? Educationalists in the research committee, research educationalists, that is 3. So you have 2 questions within no time. Which of the following cannot be uniquely determined based on the information given below? So I forgot to cover this in terms of looking at the questions. You should always look at the questions. If you looked at the questions when you solved, you will definitely know that because a question also says which of the following cannot be uniquely determined. That means all the cells will not have the values. Either in some cells you'll have more than one option or some values are missing. Right. Now we come here. Which of the following cannot be uniquely determined? First one, size of the teaching committee. Definitely size of the teaching committee is 5 or 6. That means you cannot uniquely determine it. That's the answer, but just check the remaining ones. Total number of educationalists in the 3 committees, that we know is 9. Total of E is 9. Total number of bureaucrats in the 3 committees, total number of B is 10. That also we know. Last one, size of the research committee, we know that is 7. So all 3 go. The answer is this one, size of the teaching committee. Yep. So that's the set. A simple arithmetic set where you had to take variables and write this. Now those who are not comfortable with math would have maybe left this and were searching for something which is pure logical reasoning, right? So you have no choice. Whether you like math or you don't like math, whether math is your weakest section, arithmetic has to be a section that you master, because those who are comfortable with arithmetic would have done this set within absolutely no time, right? So that's the way to go about these sets. So my advice after this is, if you're weak in percentages, if you're weak in ratios, so ratio, proportions and percentages, absolutely go ahead and master that, because that is the base for everything else. Time, speed, distance, work and work pipe systems, the other one, simple interest, compound interest, profit loss. Everything is just one concept, ratio. Right? Ratio, proportion, percentage is also a ratio only. So unless you know ratios, everything else becomes a problem. So broadly, what are the arithmetic concepts you need to know? All arithmetic topics are just divided into 3 concepts. Rate is nothing but ratio. So the first one is ratio. So you have rate, you have percentage, you have simple interest, you have compound interest, you have work pipes. Speed is nothing but distance by time. That's also rate, right? So you have all of that. Second one is averages, all types of averages, mean, median, mode, and weighted averages. Whole of arithmetic is just three concepts. Mixtures and allegations is what? Weighted averages only, right? So that's what you'd need to master. As we go ahead, we'll look at the rest of the sets. So this one is arithmetic. The next one we'll look at is number systems. Thank you.